Which ending did you pick first in GTA 5B? Honest, did you burn Trevor did? You drop Michael off the cliff? Or did you slam option C so fast you didn't even read the description, and then, as the credits rolled, did you kind of sit there wondering if you just made a huge mistake? Because, look, a lot of people panic pick Deathwish. It sounds like the safest right all. 3 survive big Avenger-style team up against every enemy in Los Santos, and you get to keep playing as Michael, Franklin, and Trevor. It feels like the game is quietly nudging you there, but then there's that other group of players, the curious ones who wait, what actually happens if I really kill Trevor? What happens if I really kill Michael? And actually commit to it. In this video, I'm going to show you why that one choice at the end is way bigger than it looks on the surface. Rockstar hides a lot of the nastiest stuff behind options A and B, and most of you never saw it. Because once you lock in Deathwish, you're like, alright, cool, happy ending, roll credits, keep grinding heists, and move on. You don't see the version of Los Santos where Franklin is secretly the most ruthless guy in the room, and the game just lets him live with it. So here's how it goes. When you choose to kill Trevor or Michael, the game doesn't just remove a character, it quietly rewrites the whole history you've been playing through. Friendships get snapped, businesses vanish, even the way people talk about these guys shifts in little lines of dialogue that you only hear if you went down that darker path. It's a messed up situation because the punishment isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just this weird, empty feeling when you try to call someone and they never pick up again. And the wild part is that this all starts long before that final mission. From the moment Michael cuts a deal in North Yankton, from the second Trevor gets lied to about Brad, from the first time Franklin steps into Michael's life in Vinewood, the game is building to that cliff choice. The Deathwish ending lets them finally accept each other's flaws, but if you kill one of them, it's like you're rewriting the entire story retroactively. You know, that family barbecue vibe at Michael's house? Yeah, imagine it with a for sale sign instead. So across this video, we're going to walk through the complete intertwined history of Michael, Franklin, and Trevor, from the snow in North Yankton to the oil field to the cliff. Then we're going deep into what happens after you kill Trevor, what happens after you kill Michael, and how Los Santos remembers them in each timeline. Because killing one of them doesn't just end a life, it creates an alternate universe you probably never saw. And once you see how broken those worlds really are, you might regret your first choice all over again. Let's get started. Alright, so here's what this video is actually going to do. Because I don't just want to tell you A is bad, B is worse, C is canon, and move on. I want you to see the whole story play out like one long timeline, so by the end you know exactly what kind of universe you left Franklin in. Have you ever finished GTA 5, picked an ending, and then kind of wondered a week later what you actually changed? In this video, I'm going to show you the complete journey of Michael, Franklin, and Trevor. First, we go back, way before the choice on the cliff, to North Yankton. We'll walk through that first heist, Brad's fate, the deal Michael cuts, and how witness protection quietly rewires his entire life. Then we follow how Trevor and Franklin get pulled into that lie, how Franklin's rise from repo guy to kingpin really happens, and how every betrayal stacks up until that final decision lands in your lap. So here's how it goes. The whole thing is built on 3 main pillars. Pillar 1 is their shared history, North Yankton, the fake grave, the fib, Michael hiding in Los Santos, and Franklin stumbling into all of this just trying to boost cars. Pillar 2 is what happens after you kill Trevor, emotionally and mechanically. Pillar 3 is the same breakdown for killing Michael. No theories, no what if fan fiction, just what the game actually does to you. And when I say what the game does, I mean it. Everything you see is from the base game. No mods, no fan edits, No cut dialogue from files that never triggers. It's only what Rockstar really coded. The text Lester sends. The way Amanda or Ron react, which properties vanish, which phone calls stop working. If you've ever seen some crazy edited montage and thought, does the game really do that? This is the opposite of that. The first thing that happens is we'll let the characters talk for themselves. I'm going to play raw in-game dialogue and context, like Trevor's rants about Brad in North Yankton, Michael's guilt slipping out in therapy, Franklin trying to sound tough but unsure. After each moment, we pause, break down the motivation, and then zoom out to see what changes in the open world once you lock in an ending. So when you kill Trevor, we're checking how Michael's behavior shifts, what Franklin loses, and how Los Santos quietly pretends Trevor never existed. When you kill Michael, we'll see why it hits Franklin harder, why Trevor calls him a traitor, and how it's a messed up situation for Michael's family. Then we'll talk about Deathwish, why it feels canon, and how the game kind of nudges you toward keeping all three alive without ever saying it out loud. By the time we're done, you'll know which path really fits your version of Franklin, and maybe you'll realize the game has been judging your choice the whole time. And look, before we get lost in North Yankton flashbacks and every tiny Fallout text message, I need to say this really quick, because it actually matters for a video like this. A full history of Michael, Franklin, and Trevor, all the way from that snowy prologue to what happens after each ending, is not something you throw together in one afternoon. In this video, I'm going to show you every little consequence, every awkward phone call that never gets picked up, every property that quietly locks forever if you make the wrong choice. To do that, I've got to replay missions, trigger different endings, test calls at different times of day, and dig through a lot of those wait. Did the game really just do that? Moments, it's a messed up situation, time-wise. So here's how it goes. If you're enjoying long breakdowns like this instead of just quick clips or memes, hitting like genuinely helps. It pushes the video out to more people who also wondered what happens after you kill Michael or Trevor. Comments and likes tell the algorithm, hey, people actually care about deep dive GTA story content. And that's what lets me keep making hour-long retrospectives instead of 10-second shorts. And while we're here, quick check. Are you actually subscribed? A ton of you watch these videos every time, and YouTube still shows me you're not subbed. If you want more stuff that goes consequence by consequence through GTA, from the North Yankton deal to Franklin's last choice on the cliff, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. That way when we break down like Lester's hidden reactions or how GTA Online connects back to Michael, you don't miss it. Now I want to hear from you too, because your first choice says a lot about how you see Franklin. Which ending did you pick the very first time you beat the game? Did you go straight for Deathwish because you couldn't kill Michael or Trevor? Or did you actually choose to kill one of them? And are you watching this after replaying the story and changing your decision? Or are you here before trying a different ending for the first time? Kind of scouting out how broken the game gets. Drop that in the comments, tell me your platform and year too. It hits different if you killed Michael back on Xbox 360 in 2013 versus replaying on PC now with everything patched. Sometimes people only realize much later that Amanda's hostile texts or Trevor's missing hangouts are permanent, and it's a real low blow when you find out 10 hours after the credits. Alright, plug over, let's rewind to where this whole mess really started. That snow-covered street in North Yankton, the deal Michael makes, and the moment Trevor's entire life gets built on a lie. So here's how it goes. We keep talking about the endings, but you can't really understand what happens after you kill Michael or Trevor until you go all the way back to that snowstorm in North Yankton. Rockstar literally shows you the original sin in the first 10 minutes, and most people just blast through it like it's a tutorial. Alright, picture it again. Ludendorff. 9 years before Los Santos, Michael, Trevor, and Brad hit this tiny bank in the middle of nowhere. Sirens in the distance, everything covered in snow. The first thing that happens is you feel like you're in a classic GTA prologue. Masks on, hostages screaming, you blow the vault, you escape. But hidden under that chaos, Michael's already made a deal you don't know about yet. Off screen, before that mission even starts, Michael has secretly cut a deal with Dave Norton from the Fib. The plan is simple and disgusting at the same time. Stage Michael's death, let Brad get killed instead, and Trevor is not supposed to walk away. Dave gets a big career moment for taking down a high-value criminal. Michael gets witness protection and a mansion in Los Santos, and Trevor gets a bullet in the snow. It's a messed up situation, but it goes sideways. Dave shoots Michael, but he doesn't die. Brad takes the real fatal shot and ends up dumped in an unmarked grave. Trevor fights his way out, bleeding, furious, and somehow escapes. When he looks back and sees the cops and the explosion, he thinks Michael bled out and Brad got locked up. Nobody tells him otherwise. That grave in North Yankton? The one with Michael's name on it? Brad's actually in there. So for almost a decade, Trevor lives on this lie. He thinks Michael is dead and Brad is rotting in a federal prison. He clings to Brad's letters like they're the last piece of the old crew. You see them in his trailer. You hear him talk about them. And you can tell he's built this whole paranoid mythology in his head. The joke is, you later find out those Brad letters were written by Michael, pretending Brad was alive. It's a real low blow when that clicks. Now jump forward to the final choice. When the game asks you to kill Trevor or Michael, it's not just who's your favorite character. You're basically choosing which side of that original betrayal you're going to stand on. Kill Trevor, and you're finishing the job the Fib and Michael started in the snow. Kill Michael, and you're siding with the guy who's been living in rage over that grave for 9 years. Or you pick Deathwish and refuse the whole setup. And Franklin, he walks into this already broken friendship with no idea any of this happened. He doesn't know about the fake death, the wrong name on the tombstone, or the letters. So when he's forced to make that final call, he's stepping into a story that started long before him, and in the next part, you'll see just how badly that history bites back. And that's the crazy part. Franklin walks into a war that started in North Yankton, but he's the one who has to pull the trigger at the end. So here's how it goes for him before you ever see that cliff choice. The first thing that happens is you meet Franklin at rock bottom, but not in a dramatic movie way. He's just stuck. He's in Los Santos doing repo work with Lamar, hustling for Simeon, pretending it's a job when it's really just boosted cars in a fake showroom. He talks big about wanting something more, wanting to get out of the hood, but you can tell he doesn't actually have a roadmap. No crew, no mentor, no North Yankton moment, just him, Lamar, and a bunch of bad ideas. Then that yacht job hits, and everything flips. He's chasing Jimmy's boat, Michael's hanging off the back, and suddenly this retired bank robber is riding shotgun in Franklin's beat-up car. Michael looks at him and instantly sees a younger version of himself. The hungry kid who'll do the dirty work if you point him in the right direction. And Franklin sees it too, even if he doesn't say it. That's why that mentorship bond matters so much later. You're not just killing a partner if you choose option B. You're killing the only person who ever tried to pull Franklin out of small-time crime. After that, Franklin gets pulled deeper and deeper into Michael's world. Fib setups, the big scores, the De Santa family drama, where you're rescuing Michael's daughter from a yacht 1 minute and dealing with yoga and divorce the next. It's a messed up situation. But it's also Franklin's promotion. He's leveling up from Simeon's lots to multi-million-dollar heists. Then Trevor crashes back into Michael's life, and Franklin doesn't get a choice. Now he's stuck between a guy trying to be a family man and a guy cooking people in the desert. Look at how Franklin acts in all of this. He's the professional one, less emotional, more focused on money, survival, and not ending up like Stretch or some dead homie on a mural. When Michael and Trevor are screaming at each other, Franklin's the one saying, "Can we just get paid?" That's exactly why Devin Weston and Steve Haynes pick him. In their heads, he's the clean one. No North Yankton baggage, no Brad, no fake graves. Just the guy who'll take a contract and get it done. But that's the real low blow. By the time you hit Lamar down, and then that final choice, Franklin is the only one who doesn't have history with North Yankton. And yet he's the one who has to clean up all the blood that started there. In the next part, you'll see what happens after he finally decides who lives and who dies, and how the game quietly punishes you for it. So here's where Michael's story really flips. Up to now we've talked about North Yankton, the setup, the betrayal, but what happens after he dies and comes back as this fake suburban dad in Los Santos? Alright, picture it. Big Vinewood house, pool in the back, tennis courts, expensive cars parked outside. On paper, Michael wins. Witness protection, a new name, a deal with Dave, and a life most NPCs would kill for. But inside that house, it's a war zone. Amanda is cheating and burning through his money. Jimmy is glued to his console, calling him a loser. Tracy is chasing fame on trash TV. Every dinner turns into an argument. Every morning starts with someone yelling. You can feel it the second you walk through that front door. So the first thing that happens is he tries to fix it the normal way. Therapy. You sit on Dr. Friedlander's couch while Michael rants about his kids, his wife, his past. Friedlander just nods, throws out buzzwords, and invoices the fib. It's a messed up situation, because you see Michael trying to talk, but nobody's really listening. Not his family, not his therapist, not even the system that's supposed to be protecting him. And that's where the midlife crisis kicks in. He's got money, but he's bored out of his mind. No adrenaline, no heists, just yoga and reality shows. You can tell he hates himself for wanting the old life back, but he also hates the version of himself that's pretending to be normal. So when Franklin accidentally crashes into his house, and they cross paths, it's like fate opening the door Michael's been pretending is locked. In this video, I'm going to show you how that one meeting snowballs. First, it's the jewelry store heist. Michael tells himself it's a one-time thing, easy score, in and out, but you know how it goes. The second he puts that mask on, he's back. And because he makes noise, the fib comes calling. Dave and Steve start blackmailing him, and suddenly he's dragging Franklin into fib jobs, multi-million-dollar hits, all this government mess Franklin never signed up for. Is he being a mentor here, or just using the new kid to keep his own deal alive? Their bond is real but twisted. Michael gives Franklin game, teaches him planning, talks about getting out clean. At the same time he lies, withholds the North Yankton truth, and keeps steering Franklin into more danger. It's like a father-son thing built on half-truths and crime. Then Trevor comes back. That blows everything open. The lie about Brad, the grave in North Yankton, the fact Michael literally sold out his best friend to save himself and his family. You watch Trevor's hurt, Michael's guilt, Franklin stuck in the middle, and you realize this guy already faked his own death once and barely held his family together the second time. So when the game later asks Franklin to kill Michael, it's not just take out your mentor, it's asking you, do you erase this broken man's second chance, or let him live with everything he's done? And the wild part is, the game will remember what you decide. In the next section, we'll jump to that final choice and see how Los Santos quietly changes, depending on whether you push Michael off that roof or pull him back up. And that choice hits way harder once you really understand the wild card in this trio, Trevor. Because before you ever see that rooftop with Michael, Trevor's been out in Sandy Shores living his own, very specific version of the American dream. Out there, he's king of the desert. He's running a small-time meth operation, pushing product out of that filthy trailer, and using the airstrip as his personal delivery hub. You've got Ron, this paranoid conspiracy guy who's terrified of disappointing him, and Wade, who's basically a lost puppy in human form. And Trevor? He's screaming, killing, and blowing stuff up. But he's got a code. You notice it fast. He hates snitches, he keeps his word to people he actually respects, and when someone crosses his crew, he reacts like it's the end of the world. So here's how it goes. Out of the three, Trevor is the only one who never tries to go straight. Michael wants witness protection and movie sets. Franklin wants a way out of the hood. But Trevor? He's honest about who he is. He's a psychopath, yeah, but he genuinely cares about Michael and Brad in his own broken way. In his mind, those were his brothers. North Yankton wasn't just a score. It was the moment his family got ripped away. That's why, when Trevor realizes Michael is alive in Los Santos, it's like a bomb goes off in his head. The first thing that happens is his whole belief system about Brad's fate collapses. For almost a decade, he thought Brad was rotting in prison and Michael died in that snow. Suddenly, Michael's on TV, doing the whole Vinewood dad routine. So who's actually in that grave up in Ludendorff? You know the answer, but Trevor needs to see it. That's why he drags you back to North Yankton and fixates on that headstone. He's not just being dramatic, he's confirming that Michael lied, that Brad took the bullet meant for him, and that his best friend sold him out. And yet, even after that, look at what happens after. He still shows up. Big score after big score. Trevor backs Michael and Franklin. He saves them in shootouts. He bails them out when plans fall apart. He even helps with the Deathwish path if you pick it. It's a messed up situation. This is the guy who might literally rip someone's teeth out, but he's also the only one who never abandons the life for the people he calls family. So when Devin Weston leans on Franklin to kill Trevor, it's not just remove the crazy guy. It's asking you to put down the only truly loyal member of the crew. And Rockstar remembers that. If you pick ending A and go after Trevor, the dialogue, the reactions, even who texts you later, all feel like you just erased the one person who never walked away. But what does that actually look like in game? Minute to minute, when Trevor's gone for good. Let's get started on that in the next part. Alright, so before we even get to that choice screen, we have to talk about the mission that quietly locks it in, Lamar down. Because if you rush through this part, you kind of miss why that final decision hit so hard. So here's how it goes. The first thing that happens is Franklin gets a call from Tanisha, not Lamar. That already feels off. She tells you Lamar's been set up, that Stretch and the Ballas lured him into a trap at the sawmill out in Paleto Bay, and you can hear it in her voice. This mix of worry and you're the only one who can fix this. You roll up a plan with Lester. You can bring Michael or Trevor for backup, and suddenly you're running a full-on tactical rescue for the same dude who still talks like it's 2004 on Grove Street. This is where the split in Franklin really shows. On one side, he's the same guy from the hood, risking everything to save his day one friend from a Ballas execution. On the other side, he's coordinating with a retired bank robber, a psychopath, and a hacker. You're clearing catwalks, sniping Ballas in hard hats, and calling out positions like this is a heist, not a gang shootout. You feel that gap between Lamar, who never left, and Franklin, who's already halfway out the door. And Rockstar leans into that. Lamar is still talking about the hood, about Stretch, about little petty beefs. Franklin is running point, flanking enemies, using suppressed rifles, basically doing F5 level work without the badge. It's a messed up situation. Because you realize Franklin's growth is exactly what Lamar needed to survive. But it's also what's pulling them apart. You know that friend who keeps you tied to your old life? That's Lamar. After you get him out, you drive Lamar back to Chamberlain Hills. No huge speech, no big cutscene. Just this quiet ride where Lamar kind of shrugs it off and Franklin sounds tired in a way he never did at the start of the game. You drop him off, and he walks back into that same block like nothing changed. And for him, it kind of didn't. For Franklin, everything did. Then, pattern interrupt. Right after you've just saved your best friend from getting chopped up in a sawmill, Franklin gets the call. Devin Weston and Steve Haynes. No congratulations, no good job saving a life. They go straight to business. They tell you Michael's a liability. They tell you Trevor is uncontrollable, and they want you to fix it. Look at the moral framing here. In this video, I'm going to show you what happens after you choose. But right now, the game is asking you to go from risk your life for your oldest friend to betray one of your two new partners for a billionaire and an fib agent who would absolutely let you die. It's a real low blow. That's the moment the choice screen pops up. Option A, kill Trevor. Option B, kill Michael. Option C, Deathwish, and most players slam C almost on instinct without really thinking through what A or B actually do to Los Santos and to Franklin's soul. In the next part, we're going to break down exactly what each of those paths turns this world into. Alright, so let's say you don't slam C. You ignore that little voice telling you Deathwish is the real ending, and you actually scroll up to option A, kill Trevor. What happens if you really go through with it and decide Trevor is the problem that needs to disappear? So here's how it goes. The second you lock that choice in, the game doesn't waste time. The first thing that happens is Franklin pulls out his phone and calls Trevor like it's just another job. No big speech, no confession, just this awkward, forced, casual tone. He tells Trevor they need to meet up, like they've got business to handle. You can already hear it in Franklin's voice. He's tense. He's lying. And Trevor is. Trevor. Suspicious, jumpy, but curious enough to show up. Right after that, Franklin dials Michael. This call is way colder. Franklin basically says, I'm doing it. I'm taking Trevor out. You in? And Michael, who has been terrified of Trevor since North Yankton, doesn't give some heroic answer. He hesitates. He kind of tries to distance himself like, this is your mess, kid. But he also doesn't hang up. He says he'll see what he can do, which is Rockstar's way of telling you he's not clean in this either. You feel that crack in their partnership right away. The mission that starts from this is called Something Sensible, which is such a dark joke. Like, the Fib and Devin Weston have gaslit Franklin so hard that murdering his own friend is framed as the rational, grown-up business move. In this video, I'm going to show you how the game keeps doubling down on that idea, while also making you feel how messed up it really is. The meetup spot is not random. They send you out to the oil fields, this ugly industrial graveyard on the edge of Los Santos. It's all rusted metal, storage tanks, and those endless pools of gasoline. From the second you pull up, the environment is basically screaming what's about to happen. Fire, fuel, no witnesses. It's a messed up situation dressed up as just another mission. We're going to let the raw in-game dialogue play out in a minute so you can hear exactly how Trevor reacts, how Franklin tries to keep it together, and how Michael enters the scene. But I want you to have the stage in your head first. A chase across those oil fields, trucks sliding through puddles of gas. Trevor desperately trying to escape someone he thought was family, and everything ending in flames. Because the most important part isn't just watching Trevor burn. It's what Michael says when he shows up, what Franklin doesn't say when he has the chance, and what happens after the screen fades. The game quietly punishes you in the hours after this mission is over, and that's where you really feel what Option A turns Franklin into. We'll dig into all of that right after you see how something sensible actually plays out. And before you even get to that gas-soaked nightmare with Trevor on the ground, you've got the part the game almost hides from you. The setup. The phone calls. The moment where Franklin decides who he's going to lie to. This is where you really feel that it's a messed up situation. So here's how it goes. Franklin pulls out the phone, scrolls, hesitates on Trevor's name for a second. Then he hits call. Yo T, what's good? There's that half second of static, then Trevor comes in way too loud. Franklin, Frankie boy, to what do I owe the fucking pleasure? You finally decided to stop pretending you're not a gangster? Franklin keeps his voice flat like he's just setting up a normal mission. Man, chill, I got a lick. Quick thing, need you on it. Real money real fast. Trevor laughs, but it's that wired laugh. Yeah? And this ain't some government bullshit, right? No fib, no yeah, no creepy clowns with clipboards. Last time I trusted people, I ended up in a graveyard wondering why my best friend sold me out. Franklin pushes through it. Nah, homie, just business. Out in the desert. You know I ain't trying to screw you. Trevor goes quiet for a beat. Everybody who ever says I ain't trying to screw you is trying to screw me, Franklin, asked Michael. Oh wait, you can't. He's too busy pretending he's not a rat. He snorts. Where? Franklin gives him the spot, still trying to sound casual. Come solo-ite? Less eyes, less problems. Trevor clocks that immediately. Solo, huh? Yeah, that's what they said in North Yankton too. Come on, Trev, it'll be fine, Trev. Just you, me, and Brad. Look how that turned out. Another pause. Fine. I'll be there. But if this is some kind of low blow, if anyone pops out of a fucking bush with a badge, I'm burning everything you love. See you soon, Franklin. Call cuts. No goodbye. Just that threat hanging. And right after that, Franklin scrolls again. This time, he lands on Michael. You can almost feel your thumb hesitate on the controller, right? He calls. Mike. Yo, Michael sounds tired already. Franklin. Hey, look. If this is about money, I'm kind of tapped out. Therapy, family. You know the drill. Nah, man, it's Trevor. Franklin lowers his voice. I got a situation. Silence, then Michael. Clipped. What kind of situation? Type where he gotta be dealt with. Franklin dodges details. These fib fools. They on him. On us. I can't do it alone. Michael exhales hard. Franklin, what exactly are you asking me to do here? You want me to help you? Take out Trevor? You know what that means, right? Franklin doesn't answer the question straight. I'm saying I need backup. If he flips, I'm dead. You know how he is. Michael's voice cracks just a little. Yeah, I know exactly how he is. I also know what happens after you cross him. I did that once. Another long pause. Alright. I'll see what I can do. But this is your play, kid. Your problem. I show up. I'm not the one pulling the trigger. Franklin tries to keep it light. Just be there, dog. Michael finishes it with one last check. If he asks, this wasn't my idea. You hear me? And if this goes bad, you and me, we're not the same after this. All ends. No music sting, no big cutscene yet. Just two men agreeing to walk into something they both know is wrong. And with those lines still hanging in the air, the game quietly drops you into the drive toward Trevor's last stand. So you start that drive out to the oil fields, and you can feel it, right? The game doesn't scream boss fight, but the air is heavy. No music, just engine noise and that empty desert sound. It's like the map itself knows you're not coming back from this the same. The first thing that happens is Franklin pulls up, and Trevor is already there, standing in front of that rusted-out structure with the pumps grinding in the background. No jokes, no crazy rant. He looks at Franklin once, then past him, like he can see Michael in the lie before Michael even arrives. The second Michael gets close, Trevor just snaps into it. He doesn't even wait. You think I'm stupid? That's the energy. He smells the setup immediately. Alright, so here's how it goes. Trevor starts ripping into Michael, and it's not about this one moment. It's about North Yankton all over again. He throws Brad in Michael's face, calls out the fake grave, the witness protection, all the years he spent thinking his best friend was dead or locked up. He points at Franklin like, "You too? You're with him now?" And you can hear how much that actually hurts him. It's not just anger, it's that pattern he keeps talking about. Everyone he rides with eventually turns on him. First Michael, then Brad, now this kid he actually liked. Franklin tries to keep it business, but Trevor won't let it stay clean. He calls Franklin a sellout, a puppet for the fib, for Michael, for whoever. You know that feeling when an argument stops being about what's happening and becomes about everything that ever happened? That's what this scene is. It's a messed up situation, and the game really leans into it. Then, Trevor bolts. No drawn-out plan. He just dives into his truck and tears off, tires screaming over the dirt. You and Michael jump in and chase, and the mission stops feeling like a hit and starts feeling like you're chasing a wounded animal that still has its teeth. You're weaving through traffic, smashing through fences, and Trevor is still on the radio yelling, still accusing, like he'd rather die mad than calm down. Eventually he loses it, slams out at the oil-filled tanks, and the truck flips or crashes hard, soaking him in gasoline. He drags himself out, still raging, still cursing Michael and Franklin. He's dripping fuel, literally standing in the thing that's about to kill him. Then, the game does something cruel. It hands you the shot. Franklin raises the gun, or if you brought Michael, Michael can do it. You pull the trigger, the bullet hits the fuel, and that tiny spark becomes this roaring wall of fire. Trevor goes up instantly, but Rockstar doesn't cut away. You're forced to watch him thrash and scream longer than feels comfortable, like the game wants you to sit in what you just did. It's a real low blow. Michael's reaction? Ice cold. He looks at the burning body and talks like a guy signing paperwork. Business is handled, risk is removed, move on. But you can already tell, the way he turns away a little too fast, that what happens after this is going to stick to him. And the game is not done punishing you for it yet. And this is where that scene really flips, because on the surface, it's just another GTA execution. But if you actually watch their faces, it's way darker than that. Trevor realizes in real time that the only two people he ever called partners just set him up. And Franklin realizes in the same second that he's not just doing a job. He's crossing a line he can't ever walk back from. So here's how it goes emotionally. The first thing that happens is Trevor's whole vibe changes the moment he clocks what's going on. He laughs, he mocks, he calls him out, but that's defense mode. Underneath, you can feel that, of course, this is how it ends for me kind of acceptance. This is the guy who survived North Yankton, torture, the desert, and it's not Merriweather or the fib that gets him. It's his own crew. It's a messed up situation. Franklin, on the other hand, keeps telling himself it's business. Survival. Steve says Trevor's a liability. Michael backs it up. And Franklin's been trained his whole life to listen when the older guys say this is how you make it. But look at him when Trevor's on fire. He doesn't look like a man closing a deal. He looks stunned, almost stuck, like his brain is trying to catch up to what his hands just did. You ever do something in a game and instantly think, wait, did I actually want that? That's baked into this cutscene. Michael's behavior is the coldest, but it's also the most fake. He talks like it's just cleaning up a mess, like getting rid of Trevor is the same as deleting an email. But his body language sells him out. He turns away fast. He doesn't stand there and watch like a proud hitman. And later on, his dialogue gets weirdly hollow. Deep down, he knows he just killed the last piece of his old life that was actually honest with him. Violent, insane, unpredictable, sure, but Trevor never lied about who he was. Michael did. For years. And Rockstar really wants you to feel that. If this was meant to be the smart choice, you'd expect a clean headshot, quick fade, triumphant music, right? Instead, Trevor slips. Gasoline, fire, screaming, and you're just standing there. It's brutal and drawn out, not slick or professional. The game doesn't reward you with a big hero moment. No hype montage. No celebration. It's quiet, awkward, almost like the camera itself is uncomfortable. Pattern interrupt here. Imagine if the game actually rolled credits right there with epic music. Wouldn't that feel completely wrong? Rockstar does the opposite on purpose. They leave you in the smoke and the silence so you sit with it. And after all that, you have to ask, what happens after Trevor's gone? Is Los Santos really safer now, or does it just feel emptier and more wrong? You removed the chaos, sure, but did you also rip out the last honest mirror Michael and Franklin had? In the next part, we'll look at what actually changes in the world once Trevor's off the map, and why it never quite feels like a win. Alright, so we're not going to sit here and re-explain a mission you've played 100 times. You know the beats. You chase Trevor, there's fire, there's shooting, there's driving. It's chaos, and then it's over. The game does its usual mission pass thing, throws some stats at you, and for a second it feels like any other big GTA 5 finale moment. But that's the trick. Because what happens after that fade out is where it really hits. The first thing that happens is you spawn back into free roam as Franklin or Michael. And there's just this. Absence. No cutscene. No funeral. No big eulogy for Trevor Phillips. The game just quietly moves on like the loudest guy in the room never existed. It's a messed up situation. And it's kind of Rockstar's way of saying, you wanted this? Live with it. So here's how it goes mechanically. You flick the character wheel on instinct, like you always do, and your brain still expects to see 3 faces, but Trevor's slice is gone. Just Michael and Franklin staring back at you. You can spin that wheel all you want. Trevor is permanently unselectable in this save. It's not a glitch. It's not temporary. He's simply erased as a playable option. You feel it the first time you do it without thinking and realize, oh, that's it, he's really dead. After that, you drive out to Sandy Shores. Maybe just to check, right? You pull up to Trevor's trailer, this place that used to be the center of all his insanity. And it's locked. No going inside, no switching to him mid-bender, no more waking up in his underwear on a mountain. His safe house is just dead space now. A prop in the background of a world that keeps moving without him. And it's not just the house. All those Trevor-only side missions, his weird friends, his exclusive properties out in Blaine County, they're all basically cut out of this timeline. You can't buy his businesses, you can't trigger his stranger missions, and any random events that depended on Trevor are just gone. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how much content you quietly delete with one decision, because it's a real low blow if you're a completionist. So from this point on, the playthrough is a 2-man story. No more switching to Trevor to blow off steam. No more seeing the world from that unfiltered psycho perspective. And that's where we're heading next. We're going to break this down piece by piece. First, the emotional fallout between Michael and Franklin. Then the raw gameplay and money changes, and finally how the whole world state of Los Santos shifts when Trevor never comes back. You think you just finished a mission, but really you just started a completely different version of GTA 5. So here's how it goes. You hit that choice. You watch Trevor burn. The mission ends. The money drops into your account. And then the game quietly does something brutal. It doesn't scream at you. It just takes him away. The first thing that happens is you open the character wheel out of habit. You know, that muscle memory from hours of bouncing between three psychos. But now, there's just Michael and Franklin. Two faces. Two colors. That third slot is still there visually, but it's dead space. You flick the stick toward where Trevor used to be and the game just cycles you back and forth between the other two, like it's pretending nothing's wrong while constantly reminding you something is missing. And it hits harder because the world itself hasn't really moved on. Sandy Shores is still out there. Trevor's trailer is still sitting in that dusty lot. The airstrip is still on the map. The vanilla unicorn still exists as a location. But you can't trigger his missions. You can't get his weird side texts. There's no more Trevor-specific rampages or those little character-driven events that only pop when you're in his shoes. It's like his whole life is now just dead content, sitting on the map, mocking you. Alright, think about how different the game feels in motion. Before, you'd swap to Trevor and suddenly, you're in the middle of a random rampage in the desert. Or he's waking up in a dress on the train tracks. Or he's screaming at some poor guy in his underwear. You'd get those unhinged phone calls. Those moments where he's yelling about loyalty, shouting stuff like, "We're friends. Best friends." At Michael while completely losing it. In this video, I'm going to show you how the silence after that is way louder than any of his rants. After ending A, you never cut to Trevor mid-chaos again. No more abrupt edits to him covered in blood. No more insane voicemails. You try to call him and nothing. The contact is gone. The game doesn't even give you a "can't talk now" line. It's just empty. For a character who never shut up, that quiet is a real low blow. And the tone of Los Santos shifts in this subtle way. You can still drive out to Blaine County, but it feels kind of wrong now. The desert is calmer. Too calm. You walk into the vanilla unicorn and Wade is just stuck there. Like time froze at the moment Trevor disappeared. No explanation, no closure, just a weird void where his chaos used to be. It's a messed up situation because, mechanically, you only lost a selectable character, but emotionally it feels like you ripped a chunk out of the game. But losing Trevor on the wheel is just the surface level punishment. What happens after that, when you start talking to people, or when they refuse to talk to you at all, is where the real gut punch is hiding. And that's what we need to break down next. Alright, so once the shock of losing Trevor wears off and you're back in free roam, this is where Michael's side of things really starts to creep in. On paper, he won. He's alive. He's rich. He's got the Vinewood dream back. But if you listen to him for more than 10 seconds, you can tell it's a messed up situation. The first thing that happens is Michael tries to act like it was just another job. You swap over to him and he'll sometimes mutter these little ambient lines, like he's talking to himself more than to you. He'll say stuff about how it had to be done, or how Trevor was out of control and a liability. On the surface it sounds cold, like he's justifying it, but the delivery is off. There's this edge in his voice, like even he doesn't fully buy his own story. You'll catch him sighing, pausing mid-sentence, almost trailing off when he mentions the past. It's like he wants to lock North Yankton, Brad, and everything with Trevor in a box and never open it again. But the game won't let him completely. Every now and then he slips. And you hear that regret in there. even if he never openly says I feel guilty. Now call him as Franklin and it gets even more awkward. After Trevor's gone, when Franklin brings him up or hints at what they did, Michael suddenly sounds distant or defensive. He'll push it back on Franklin like, you made your choice, kid, even though in a lot of playthroughs, you had Michael actually pull the trigger. It's kind of like he's rewriting the event in real time, trying to believe it was all Franklin's decision so he doesn't have to carry the full weight. They can still hang out, which is almost worse. You invite Michael out and he'll come, but some of those conversations feel way more forced than before. He leans hard on the it was business angle, talks about how sometimes you gotta do ugly things to survive in Los Santos, and then out of nowhere he'll drift into self-pity, complaining about how nobody understands what he sacrificed. You know when someone's trying way too hard to convince you they're fine? That's Michael. Every drink, every drive. Listen for the specific post-ending lines where he mentions Trevor being gone. He doesn't say we killed him. He treats it like Trevor just vanished or got what was coming. He'll talk about the old crew like it was doomed from day one, polishing the memory so he can live with it. So here's how it goes. He's not just lying to Franklin, he's lying to himself. And in the middle of all that, he still has his mansion, his family dinners, his movie studio. On the surface, he got everything he wanted. But the way he talks, the way he dodges Trevor's name, the game quietly tells you he knows exactly what he traded away. The real question is, does Franklin feel that same weight? Or does he wear it completely differently in his ending? And this is where Franklin quietly turns into something way darker. Up to this point, you probably see him as the reasonable one, right? The guy trying to escape the hood. Not the psycho like Trevor, or the liar like Michael. But when you pick ending A and actually burn Trevor alive, the game kind of flips the script and says, alright, this is who Franklin really is when the pressure hits. So here's how it goes. By going through with it, Franklin proves to the Fib and Devin Weston that he's willing to do the one thing they can't even get Michael to do. Erase his own partner. Steve and Devin both frame it as cleaning up loose ends, and Franklin just does it. No screaming breakdown. No wild rampage. He follows orders, watches Trevor die, takes his cut, and walks away. If you think about it, that's exactly what a perfect government hitman looks like. And once you know that, it completely reframes his whole story. The first thing that happens is you remember Franklin at the start of the game, complaining about petty gang drama, saying he's tired of Lamar's nonsense, trying to get out of repo work. He doesn't want to shoot some ballast over a bike, but he will burn the most loyal member of his new crew because some rich guy and a corrupt agent told him to. It's a messed up situation. Trevor is the only one who never really betrayed Franklin. He backs him up in heists. He shows up when it's time to ride on the O'Neills. He even respects Franklin more than most people in his life, and that's the one Franklin chooses to kill. So when you replay the early missions after seeing ending A, all those scenes of Franklin rolling his eyes at the hood start to feel cold. He didn't grow out of violence. He just upgraded it. What happens after is the game starts treating Franklin like the guy who handles problems. Michael's text about "we did the right thing" hit different when you remember Franklin pulled the trigger. Lester later sends that message basically saying he knows Trevor didn't just disappear, and they should never talk about it again. Nobody says it out loud, but the vibe is clear. Franklin is the closer. You bring him in when you need something ugly done, and never mentioned again. There's even this weird, quiet ruthlessness to him that a lot of players notice. Some people come away from ending A feeling like Franklin is actually the most ruthless of the three, because he doesn't explode like Trevor or spiral like Michael. He just does the job. No big speech, no meltdown, just business. And honestly, that can feel way colder. But the game isn't done twisting the knife yet, because if Franklin is the silent hitman, how do the people who actually love Trevor react when he's suddenly gone? Or even worse, what if they don't react at all? In this video, I'm going to show you how Lester, Ron, Wade, and the rest of Trevor's tiny circle deal with his disappearance, and why that silence might be the harshest consequence of all. Alright, so here's where it gets kind of quietly brutal. After you kill Trevor and the dust settles, you'd expect some huge fallout, right? But what happens after is way colder than that. The first thing that happens is, when you finally talk to Lester, he just drops this super casual line. He says Trevor has fallen off the grid. That's it. No panic, no suspicion, no big detective moment. In Lester's head, Trevor didn't get burned alive in the desert by his two partners. He just vanished. Maybe went underground, maybe skipped town, maybe pulled a classic Trevor and disappeared to cook meth in some other state. And the game never lets you correct him. You don't get a dialogue option where Franklin goes, "Yeah, about that. We torched him." Michael doesn't jump in to confess either. Lester, the guy who knows everything, who tracks FIB agents, bank records, security cameras, thinks Trevor just ghosted Los Santos. It's a messed up situation because you as the player are sitting there knowing exactly what happened, while the smartest guy in the room is completely in the dark. On the surface, that line is kind of darkly funny. Like, of course Trevor would fall off the grid. This is the same dude who faked his own death in North Yankton in his mind, who survived shootouts, torture, crashing planes, all of it. If anyone in this world could just disappear and keep going, it's Trevor. So when Lester says it, you almost nod along. Yeah, that sounds like Trevor. But when you think about what really happened, it hits way harder. Trevor doesn't fall off the grid. He gets erased. There's no body found, no news report, no big showdown story spreading around town. 1 minute he's the loudest, craziest person in Los Santos, and the next he's just a line of dialogue that people misunderstand. For a guy who lived like a walking explosion, his exit is weirdly quiet. And this is Rockstar all over. In this video I'm going to show you how they almost never go for the cheesy, dramatic send-off. There's no funeral cutscene, no slow-motion montage of Trevor's greatest hits. You get a quick throwaway comment from Lester, and that's your emotional payoff. The more you replay it in your head, the darker it feels. It's a real low blow disguised as a shrug. So here's how it goes. Lester doesn't know. The FIB doesn't really care. The game won't let Franklin or Michael talk about it. If Lester, the paranoid mastermind, thinks Trevor just disappeared, who actually knows the truth besides the two guys who lit the match? And that raises a bigger question. Does anyone in Trevor's life ever get real closure about what happened to him? Or is he just another ghost story in Blaine County? So if Trevor turns into a ghost story for the FIB and for Lester, what happens back in Blaine County with the people who actually lived in his orbit every day? This is where Ending A starts to feel really weird, because the game quietly shows you a desert that's still standing but kind of dead on the inside. Alright, so here's how it goes. The first thing that happens is Ron doesn't blow up. He doesn't come after Franklin, he doesn't launch some revenge arc, he just keeps existing. You can still find him around Sandy Shores, still doing his nervous prepper thing, but that hyperactive, paranoid energy he had when Trevor was alive, it's dialed way down. He sounds like a guy who lost the sun his whole little world revolved around. Remember early in the game when Ron was constantly panicking about Merryweather, rival gangs, the Chinese, everyone coming for them? After Trevor's gone, he feels more like he's in shock. Some of his dialogue is almost hollow, like he's going through the motions of being Trevor's right-hand man even though there's no boss anymore. You know that vibe when someone keeps a job title but the company already closed? That's Ron in Ending A. Then you've got Wade. If you check in on him, he's still stuck at the vanilla unicorn, cleaning floors, dancing around, doing whatever the staff tells him. Before, Trevor was this abusive but weirdly protective force dragging Wade between Los Santos and Sandy Shores, yelling at him, using him, but also making sure nobody else messed with him too much. After Trevor's death, that leash is gone. Wade doesn't get a big emotional scene. He doesn't even know what really happened. He just feels abandoned, like Trevor dropped him off in the strip club and never came back. Now look at the territory itself. In this video, I'm going to show you how much personality you actually lose without realizing it. Drive out to Sandy Shores after ending A. The trailer where Trevor used to sleep, locked off. The airfield you used to run guns from, no more Trevor missions firing up there. Those desert roads where you'd get ambushed, chase trucks, or trigger random chaos with Trevor's rage, they're mostly quiet now. It's a messed up situation, because on paper you won. You removed the liability, the wild card. The guy Lester calls a problem. But what happens after is the entire Blaine County side of the game feels like it's been unplugged. No more Trevor rampages starting from his front door. No more late night calls to pull off something insane in the middle of nowhere. The map is still huge, but the northern half feels like a ghost town compared to the main story. And that's the real low blow of ending A. Trevor was a monster, no question. But he was their monster. Ron's, Wade's, even Blaine County's. Without him, the world doesn't just get safer. It gets flatter, quieter, less alive. And if the desert feels this empty without Trevor, what does that say about Franklin, the guy who chose to light the match in the first place? And that's where it hits you in a different way. The desert goes quiet, the safe houses feel empty, and then you pull out your phone. That's when you really feel what you just did. Alright, so here's how it goes. Earlier in the game, Trevor is basically that one friend who does not understand boundaries. He blows up your phone with insults, weird invitations, random hangout requests. 1 minute he's calling Franklin a rookie, the next he's demanding you meet him at some bar in Sandy Shores. It's chaotic, it's annoying, but it's also kind of comforting, because it means Trevor is out there somewhere, doing something insane. After ending A, that channel of chaos is just gone. The first thing that happens is you open the contacts list, almost on autopilot, and depending on when you check, Trevor is either still there but grayed out, or he's just missing. No picture, no name, no nothing. You tap on him anyway you try to call and the game hits you with silence or an error beep. No answer, no voicemail. It's a messed up situation, because Gita V trained you for dozens of hours that your phone is how you fix things. Think about it. All the big moves in this story start with a call. Lester rings with a score. Michael checks in with Franklin. Lamar drags you into some nonsense. In this video, I'm going to show you how subtle that design is. Because when Trevor dies, Rockstar doesn't just remove a character, they delete a voice from your pocket. You can't text him, you can't get those unhinged messages where he's ranting about Brad or threatening to burn something down. It's like Los Santos had a radio station of pure madness, and somebody shut it off forever. And a lot of players do the same thing without even thinking. Right after the ending, they instinctively try to call Trevor. You know that feeling? You just watched him burn, you're still processing it, and your brain goes, wait, maybe he'll pick up. Maybe there's some secret dialogue. But what happens after is way colder than any cutscene. Nothing. Just a dead contact or a missing name. That empty dial tone is Rockstar looking at you and saying, no, you really did that. Look, in a game where the phone is your lifeline to missions, heists, and friendships, deleting Trevor from it is like erasing an entire personality from the city. Blaine County still looks the same, Ron still texts, Wade still dances at the club, But the guy who tied all that insanity together can't reach you, and you can't reach him. It's a real low blow, because it feels so small mechanically, but so huge emotionally. And if killing Trevor feels bad when his number goes dark, killing Michael hits even harder, because the game makes that phone silence feel way more personal, way more pathetic, and it puts Franklin right in the middle of it. And that silence actually ties into the next thing we need to talk about, which is way less emotional and way more cold, the money. Because if the game makes you feel awful, at least it pays out huge for killing Trevor, right? Well, not really. So here's how it goes. In Ending A, when you burn Trevor, his cut of that last big score doesn't just vanish into the ether. The game quietly splits his share between Michael and Franklin. You look at your bank accounts after the credits, and you go, alright, cool. Extra millions. On paper, you've got a leaner crew and a fatter wallet. But you know what hits you pretty fast? That's a one-time bump. Trevor's not around to generate anything ever again. The first thing that happens is you lose every money stream tied to Trevor as a character. No more Trevor-only side missions. No more weird drug runs. No more random events that drop cash in your lap because this lunatic decided to help or hurt someone. Those payouts are gone. His properties you might have bought in a normal playthrough? In this video I'm going to show you, they're just dead dreams in Ending A. Because you can't even access a bunch of that content now. Compare that to Ending C. Deathwish keeps all three guys alive, and the final mission pays each of them their own cut. It's still a big score, but you don't get that bonus from stealing Trevor's share. The trade-off is simple. You keep 3 income sources, 3 sets of side content, 3 perspectives on every heist and random encounter. In the long run, the extra cash from killing Trevor is kind of like picking up loose change and throwing away a winning lottery ticket. And it's not just money. What happens after Trevor's gone is that a bunch of heist dialogue and chemistry just disappears. Those arguments in the planning room, the way Trevor threatens Lester's contacts, the little comments he makes about crew choices, all of that is locked away. You call in Michael and Franklin for a job and the room is quieter. More professional? Sure, but also way less fun. It feels like Rockstar's quiet statement. You want to be the sensible businessman? Fine, cut the unstable partner, take his share, clean up the operation. But the game doesn't shower you with rewards for doing it. No special property, no secret bonus heist, no hidden ending, just a slightly bigger number in your account and a lot of missing chaos. So when you zoom out, Ending A gives you this: Michael and Franklin running a cleaner, more controlled criminal empire, with fewer headaches and fewer explosions. And at the same time, Los Santos feels lonelier, the map feels smaller, and the story you're living in is way less interesting without the guy who kept breaking it. And if that's what killing Trevor looks like on the balance sheet, killing Michael twists the knife even more, because the game starts messing with your money and your conscience at the same time. So if killing Trevor already felt like ripping the chaos out of the game, killing Michael is where it starts to feel like you rip something out of yourself. You've seen what happens when Trevor dies. The world gets quieter and kind of hollow. Now we flip it. Now we look at the darker, more uncomfortable option. You push your mentor off a tower and watch the game judge you for it. Alright, Ending B, The Time's Come, hits totally different from Ending A. With Trevor, the game frames it like putting down a rabid dog. He's on fire, he's screaming, it's brutal, but it almost feels like the state wanted this to happen anyway. With Michael, it's way more personal and pathetic. It's not the government cleaning up a problem. It's you, Franklin, walking your father figure up a ladder and deciding whether to let him fall. So here's how it goes. Devin and Steve flip the script, and tell Franklin that Michael is the real liability. He's the snitch, the family man, the guy who made a deal back in North Yankton, and they sell you this idea that cutting him loose is the only way you walk away clean. Franklin actually agrees. He picks up his phone, calls Michael like it's just another mission, and sets up a meet that you know is not going to end with a friendly beer. The first thing that happens is the vibe is off from the second Michael shows up. He's suspicious, he's asking questions, and when Franklin finally pulls the gun, it explodes into this chase that feels way more desperate than the Trevor one. Instead of an oil field, you're racing out to the Palmer Taylor power station, climbing that giant structure while Michael yells at you about loyalty, about North Yankton, about how this is exactly what he did to Trevor. It's a messed up situation, because the game is basically saying, congratulations, you've become Michael. Up there on the tower, you get that final choice, pull him up or let him go. Either way, the fall is ugly, the cutscene is cold, and the credits are not the end of it. What happens after is where this ending really stings, and in this video I'm going to show you how the game keeps twisting the knife. We're going to mirror the Trevor branch the same way. First, I'll play out the raw dialogue, the calls, the texts, the awkward meetings. Then we'll walk through the mission itself in more detail. And after that, we'll break down all the consequences and world changes, money, properties, character availability, even how random people talk about Michael. Because some of the harshest reactions in the entire game are waiting for you if you actually kill him. Amanda's messages, Jimmy's phone call, even Lester's tone. It's a real low blow. And Trevor? If you thought he was mad about Brad, wait until he finds out what you did here. So if you've ever wondered what it really feels like to pick ending B and live with it, let's get started. Because the game does not let Franklin off easy. Alright, so here's how it goes. After all that pressure from Devin and Steve, after the game basically looks you in the eye and says, are you really going to kill this man? Franklin finally does the one thing that flips the whole story on its head. He dials Michael. You hear that ringtone, and it feels normal at first, like any other mission setup. But listen to Franklin's voice. He's not hyped. He's not cracking jokes. He's flat. He's like, yo, Mike, we need to talk. Got a situation I could use you on. Michael comes in sounding tired. That kind of worn out dad energy he's had ever since the Fib and Trevor drama. He's like, Franklin, every time you say situation, I end up almost dying. What is it this time? You can hear it, right? Suspicious, but not angry. Just used to problems showing up with this kid. Franklin keeps it vague. Ain't like that, man. Just meet me up at the place. We'll talk it out. Short, clipped, no real info. And you know Michael hears that. He pauses. He always pauses. You're not telling me much here, kid. You in trouble? Is this Fib, Devin, what? He name drops the exact people who just put a price on his head without even knowing it. In this video, I'm going to show you just how brutal that little phone call really is when you stop and think about their history. Because Michael doesn't hang up. He doesn't say no. He sighs and leans into the one thing that's defined his whole arc with Franklin. Mentorship. Look, Franklin, I've been trying to get you out of this kind of stuff, he says. I told you don't want to end up like me. But you're one of the few people I actually respect in this town. So if you say you need me, I'll come. It's a messed up situation. Because that's the line that seals it. Respect is what kills him if you pick ending B. Franklin barely reacts. Yeah, I just pull up, you'll see. No jokes about Tanisha, no clowning around like back when they boosted cars for Simeon. It's all business. And that silence between his words, that's what gives it away. Michael can feel something is off, even if he can't name it. You sure you're okay, kid? Michael asks. You sound different. Franklin just hits him with, we good. Just come through, man. The first thing that happens after that call ends is the game quietly locks you in. No more backing out. No more pretending this is just another score. You've just used the bond built from Vinewood, the fib raids, the Union Depository, all of it, as bait. Cut to the meetup point. Michael's car rolling in, engine echoing, him stepping out like it's just another favor for the kid he tried to pull out of the hood, with no idea he's walking straight into his own ending. And what happens after he realizes it? That's where it gets really dark. And what happens after he realizes it? That's where it gets really dark. And it's not about the bullets at all. It's about the look on Michael's face when the penny drops. So here's how it goes. The first thing that happens is Michael walks up like it's business as usual, starts to put the pieces together, and then he sees Franklin's stance, the way he's holding himself. You can almost feel that shift. He goes from confused to shocked to this cold anger in about 3 seconds. You're here to kill me? It's not some mastermind reaction. It's a dad who just realized his own kid is the one holding the knife. Alright, from that moment, the whole mission stops feeling like a clean hit. The Palmer Taylor power station turns into the world's worst family therapy session. Michael's yelling about betrayal, Franklin's trying to justify it, and you're stuck in this chase that feels less like a tactical move and more like a screaming match that spilled into an industrial park. It's a messed up situation, because you know these two have robbed banks together, survived shootouts, argued about Jimmy's future, and now they're ducking behind transformers and catwalks instead. As Michael runs, he keeps throwing those lines back at you. He calls Franklin out for selling him out, demands to know who put him up to this. Is it Devin? Is it the fib? You really think they're your friends? And at the same time, he's trying to flip the script, playing the victim. He leans hard on everything he's done for Franklin. The house in Vinewood, the jobs, the protection. Coming from a guy who faked his own death, lied to Trevor for a decade, and dragged Franklin into fib blackmail, it hits different. It's a real low blow, because he's not wrong that he helped Franklin, but he's also the king of betrayal himself. Then the chase goes vertical. Up the tower. Michael's limping, grabbing railings, wheezing between insults. Franklin is right behind him, gun out, but the conversation never stops. They're throwing years of resentment at each other on every landing. Michael accuses Franklin of having no loyalty, of throwing away family for a paycheck. Franklin fires back that Michael only ever cared about himself, that he used people, that every favor came with a hidden bill. And this is the wild part. In this video, I'm going to show you how that last climb says more about Franklin than most of the story. Because when you finally get to the top, all the shooting drops away and it's just one choice. Michael slips. He's hanging there. Do you pull him up or do you let him fall? If you save him, your Franklin is the guy who can't quite kill his mentor, even after everything. If you drop him, you got a Franklin who's fully stepped into that cold, ruthless space the game's been hinting at all along. And what happens after that fall, whichever way you play it, is where the whole world of Los Santos starts to bend around your decision. So here's how it goes. You make that choice, you push Franklin to let go, and Rockstar gives you one of the most awkward, uncomfortable big deaths in any hita. No epic shootout, no last stand, just two guys on a tower, arguing like a broken family on the worst possible day. The first thing that happens is Franklin's got Michael by the hand, right on the edge. You can feel the game slowing down for you. Camera tight, city way below, the whole story kind of hanging there with him. Michael's not doing a noble sacrifice speech. He's pissed, he's hurt, he's throwing those last barbs about betrayal, and what Franklin owes him. And you're sitting there like, am I really going to drop this guy I've spent the whole game with? If you pick ending B and let go, Franklin just releases him. No big dramatic shove. It's not heroic. It's not even clean. Michael slips back, flails for a second, and then he falls. The camera follows him just long enough to make you feel it, but not long enough to turn it into some cool stunt. He hits the ground hard in this ugly, abrupt way that's more sad than cinematic. It's a messed up situation, and the game wants you to sit in it. Listen to his last words. Depending on how you played that argument, he's either spitting anger, calling Franklin out as a traitor, or he's got this bitter, resigned tone, like he always knew it would end like this. There's no tell my family I love them moment. No soft fade. It's more like, you think you're better than me? And then gravity answers the question. Those lines stick with you way after the credits, because they sound like a real guy losing everything, not a movie hero wrapping up his arc. And notice what Rockstar doesn't do here. No triumphant music swell, no XP pop-up, no mission pass fanfare blasting in your ears. The cutscene lingers just long enough on Franklin's face, on the body down below, to make you feel the weight of what you chose. Then it just kind of lets you go back into Los Santos with this hole in the middle of the map, and in the middle of the story. Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how that hole spreads way further than you think. Because unlike Trevor, Michael leaves a whole life behind that has to react. He's got Amanda, Jimmy, Tracy, the therapist he's been unloading on, the Vinewood contacts, that fake movie star dream he was finally starting to touch. What happens after this isn't just one guy disappearing. It's his house going up for sale, his family getting that final heist cut from Lester, and an entire version of Los Santos quietly rewiring itself around the fact that Michael Townley, Michael DeSanta, is just gone. And the next part is where you really see how ugly that fallout gets. So here's where it really hits you. 1 second you're in that cutscene, Michael slipping, Franklin making that choice you can't take back, and the next second the game just spits you out on the mountain. No credits, no big fanfare, no heroic music. It's just Franklin, the wind, and the spot where Michael died. The first thing that happens is you realize how quiet it is. There's no cop chase, no instant phone call, no character cracking a joke to break the tension. Franklin just stands there for a moment, and you can kind of feel the game waiting to see what you do. Do you walk back to the edge and look down? Do you just turn around and leave like nothing happened? It's a messed up situation because the mission is technically complete, but it doesn't feel like a win at all. Alright, as soon as you hit that character switch button, that's when it really sinks in. The wheel pops up, and Michael's face just isn't there anymore. It's only Franklin and Trevor. 2 slots instead of 3. No grayed out portrait, no unavailable text. He's just gone like he never existed as a playable option. You know how earlier in the game if someone's busy it'll say they're laying low? Not here. This is permanent. And the contrast with Trevor's death is kind of interesting. When Trevor dies, the game rips out a ton of his side content. His properties, his weird strangers, his whole chunk of the map feeling like it lost its chaos engine. With Michael, mechanically, it's lighter. You don't lose as many missions or random events. But emotionally, it's a real low blow. You've spent hours in that Rockford Hills house, listening to arguments, watching TV, doing yoga, even just walking into Jimmy's room to see what he's raging about online. Now after this ending, that same house goes up for sale, and you're locked out for good. No more walking into Michael's office to see that movie poster. No more family therapy nonsense. The world keeps going, but that whole domestic side of the story is just sealed off. Franklin himself reflects that. If you pull out the phone right after, you don't get some cheerful contact list. You get this weird, empty feeling menu where Michael's name is gone, and Franklin's calls hit different. He'll leave this stressed out voicemail for Lamar, sounding defensive, trying to justify what he just did without ever saying it straight. You can hear he's shaken, but he's also kind of numb, like he's already trying to convince himself it was necessary. So here's how it goes in this video. I'm going to show you not just that Michael disappears, but how everyone else quietly rearranges around that hole. Amanda, Jimmy, Lester, even Trevor himself, they all react in their own way. Some blame Franklin, some shut down, some get really cold. And the wild part is, the ugliest reaction doesn't come from who you'd expect. And that ugliest reaction I mentioned, it hits you right on your phone. Alright, so here's how it goes. After you push Michael off that tower, or drop him when he slips, the first thing that happens is the game goes quiet for a second. Cutscene ends, Franklin walks away, you get that sick feeling in your stomach. Then, a little bit later, your phone buzzes. It's Amanda. And she is not confused. She is not in denial. She basically goes, in her own words, "I know what you did. Stay away from us. Don't ever contact me again." She doesn't say, "Franklin, did you hear what happened?" She talks like someone who understands this wasn't an accident. She blames you. She calls you out. It's a messed up situation because you can literally scroll up in that same message thread and see earlier texts where she was asking Michael if Franklin could help, or where Franklin was the guy trying to calm things down. Then Jimmy piles on. He sends Franklin this angry, hurt rant, saying stuff like, "You were supposed to be his friend. And I hope you're happy, man." He doesn't hold back. He makes it clear he knows Franklin was involved, that this wasn't some random car crash. It reads like a kid who just lost the only parent that halfway understood him, and now he's aiming all that pain at you. Remember earlier in the story when Franklin is the one driving Jimmy home, pulling him out of stupid situations, and even backing Michael up during all those family blow-ups? Back then, Franklin is sort of the neutral guy. The one person who can walk into the DeSanta house and not instantly start a screaming match. In this video, I'm going to show you how Rockstar flips that. After ending B, Franklin goes from chill outside friend to the traitor who helped kill their dad. Look at the contrast. Before, you had yoga jokes, Dr. Friedlander sessions, Amanda storming out, Jimmy yelling about his life being ruined. The house felt alive, even if it was toxic. What happens after you kill Michael is the exact opposite. You drive up to Rockford Hills and the place is just dead. For sale sign. No cars. No arguments bleeding out onto the driveway. You can't go inside, you can't trigger any scenes. It's a hollow shell of everything you spent the game watching fall apart and slowly rebuild. And that's the real low blow. Killing Michael doesn't just remove a protagonist from the character wheel. It nukes an entire dysfunctional, but real family from the map. Rockstar is basically saying, you didn't just choose between 3 heist buddies. You decided whether these people get a second chance or get erased. And the cruel part, we're not even done yet, because Trevor's reaction takes that guilt and dials it up even more. And just when you think the game is done rubbing it in with Amanda and the kids, it quietly hands the mic to the last person you expect to care, Lester. And what happens after you kill Michael and go talk to him is one of the harshest reality checks in the whole game. So here's how it goes. You show up to see Lester like, alright, business as usual, right? Michael's gone, it's tragic, but this is the guy who always turns disaster into a spreadsheet. You kind of expect him to just fold it into the math, maybe say something about risk and reward and then move on. But the first thing that happens is he actually calls you out. He doesn't just shrug and say, well, that's that. He makes it clear he knows what you did and he's not impressed. He basically tells Franklin something along the lines of, "You picked the dumbest option." Not in those exact words, but the vibe is, you really chose to kill the guy who set you up with all of this? The guy who pulled you out of the hood? Who funded every big score we ran? Lester frames it like you just shot the golden goose because the fib told you to. It's a messed up situation, and he makes it sound small and short-sighted instead of noble or necessary. And he doesn't just question the logic, he pokes at the morality too. He reminds you how much Michael did for the crew, how many times he went in first, how all of you got rich off his midlife crisis crime spree. There's this tone of, look, I'm not exactly a saint, but even I wouldn't have cashed him out like that. Coming from a guy who helped fake Michael's death once already, that hits different, right? What makes this stand out is that Gita 5 almost never judges your big choices out loud. Usually characters just adapt. Kill Trevor? Michael gets weird, but he still kind of rolls with it. Pick Deathwish? Everybody's suddenly cool with teaming up. Very rarely does someone in the world turn around and say, yeah, that was the wrong call. Lester is one of the only people who actually does that with ending B. And remember, this is Lester, the cold, calculating planner. The dude who picks targets based on maximum profit, not good karma. When even he's looking at Franklin like, you went too far, it lands way harder than if, say, Jimmy said it between bong hits. It makes the whole thing feel less like a tragic necessity and more like, you just crossed a line you can't uncross. So by the time you stack Lester's criticism on top of Amanda's furious text, and the house literally being up for sale, ending B stops feeling like a tough moral dilemma. It starts feeling like the game quietly labeling it the bad ending. And the crazy part is, Rockstar still has one more character ready to twist that knife even deeper. And that one more character is Trevor. Which is kind of perfect, right? Because if there's anyone who's not going to sugarcoat what you just did to Michael, it's the guy who's built entirely out of anger and loyalty issues. So here's how it goes. After the credits roll on ending B, the first thing that happens is Trevor basically vanishes from Franklin's life. You try to call him? Straight to voicemail. You send a hangout invite? Nothing. It's like the game itself is telling you, yeah, this bridge is not just burned, it's nuked. Trevor assumes what we already know. Franklin was the one who pushed Michael off that tower, or at the very least chose to let him die. When you finally do get that face-to-face encounter, Trevor doesn't hold back. He hits Franklin with lines where he calls him a traitor, says he's dead to him, and makes it real clear this isn't some normal get the argument. This is Trevor spelling it out. You murdered a friend. No complicated choice, no we did what we had to do. Just straight up betrayal. And that's where the irony kicks in. Remember the Trevor death path? In that version, Michael and Franklin kind of dance around it. They talk about Trevor being a liability, about how he was going to drag them all down. They never quite say, yeah, we hunted down our own guy and set him on fire. But here, when Michael is the one who dies, Trevor is the only one honest enough to call it exactly what it is. Look, it's a messed up situation, but it also fits Trevor perfectly. This is the same dude who never got over North Yankton, who obsessed over Brad for almost a decade. So when Franklin repeats that pattern and helps take out Michael, Trevor just slots him into the same box as Michael. Liar, sellout, backstabber. You know how in Deathwish you can roll around with a 3-man crew and it actually feels like a weird, broken family? None of that exists here. What happens after is that any potential hangouts or interactions between Trevor and Franklin are gone. No late-night bar runs, no random calls, no dumb conversations in the car. Even if you try to force them together using character switches or scripted encounters, the vibe is tense or outright hostile. It's like Rockstar wants you to feel how hollow this world is without that chaotic triangle bouncing off each other. And when you zoom out, it's a real low blow for Franklin specifically. He's cut off from Amanda and the kids. Michael's gone. Trevor wants him dead, and even Lester is disappointed. Franklin wanted to climb the ladder, but in this video I'm going to show you how, in this path, he ends up on top of a very empty mountain. The question is, who's left to pull him back when the next storm hits? And that's not just about people cutting Franklin off. The city itself kind of turns its back on him. So here's how it goes when you pick ending B and Michael's path gets erased from the map. The first thing that happens is you drive past that Vinewood mansion you spent half the game in, and it's like a ghost house. You can still roll up, you can still walk around the front, but there's no Amanda yelling, no Jimmy complaining about life, no Tracy screaming from upstairs. The TV scenes are gone, the random arguments are gone. Even those awkward therapy calls that used to drag Michael out of the house just stop existing. It's still an asset in the world, but the life inside it has been completely sucked out. Look at how weird that feels. Earlier in the story, that place is noisy and messy and kind of annoying, but it's alive. After you kill Michael, it's just scenery. You can't go in, you can't trigger those little family moments, you can't even pretend Franklin inherited that lifestyle. The game is like, you wanted this guy gone? Alright. You don't get his home either. And it doesn't stop at the house. Michael's whole movie studio arc just hard cuts. No more heading down to Richard's Majestic. No more goofy producer missions. No more little satire bits about agents and actors and the crazy director losing his mind. That whole Hollywood side of GTA, the stuff that was clowning on the film industry every 5 minutes, gets sealed off. What happens after is that Los Santos still has Vinewood signs and billboards, but the part of the game that actually lets you play with that world is dead. Now put that next to Franklin, he still has his spots. The old strawberry house if you kept it, the Vinewood Hills place he bought, his cars, his money, Lamar blowing up his phone with dumb ideas. On paper he's fine. But you feel this invisible wall around him. That high-end Vinewood connection, the real I made it out pipeline that Michael represented, is gone. You climb the ladder, help push the guy at the top off it, and the game quietly kicks the ladder away. It's a messed up situation because Franklin did everything the game asked. He leveled up, he proved himself, and ending B still feels like a regression. He's back to cruising the hood and doing his own thing, but now there's this giant, unreachable chunk of the map that used to be his mentor's world. You know that feeling when you drive by Michael's mansion and it's just a for sale sign and silence? It's a real low blow. And Rockstar is absolutely doing this on purpose. It's the game's way of punishing you for trying to fix the story by deleting one of its pillars instead of dealing with the mess. You want a clean solution? The city gets emptier. And as we move into the next consequence, you'll see how that emptiness doesn't just hit the map. It hits Franklin's whole future in Los Santos. That emptiness really hits you the first time you pull out Franklin's phone after killing Michael and realize he's just gone. No contact icon, no little blue silhouette, nothing. It's like the game quietly erased your mentor from your social circle and hoped you wouldn't notice. But you do. You really do. Alright, so here's how it goes. Earlier in the story, Michael is all over Franklin's phone. He'll call to ask for help, to vent about his family, or sometimes just to talk. You'll get stuff like him stressing about Amanda, or checking in after a big job. It sells that weird father-son thing they've got going on. In this video, I'm going to show you how, after you push him off that tower or let him fall, that line doesn't just go quiet, it's permanently dead. The first thing that happens is you open the contacts list out of habit. You're scrolling expecting to see Michael between Lester and maybe Lamar. He's not there. You back out, open it again, like maybe the game glitched. Still nothing. You know how with Trevor's death, At least Franklin and Michael can kind of pretend to move on. Here, there's not even room for pretending. The phone straight up refuses to let you reach for that relationship. And it gets worse when you try to switch characters. Your brain is still wired from the whole campaign. You see the 3 character circles, and your thumb just goes to where Michael used to be. You flick over, and the game snaps you back to Franklin or Trevor. That little red X on his portrait, that failed switch, hits way harder than a cutscene. It's the game telling you again and again that the father figure option is gone. No more safe house in Rockford Hills. No more movie studio calls. No more kid. We gotta talk. What happens after that is the world starts to feel colder in a way Trevor's death never quite manages. Trevor was chaos and violence. Losing him is like taking the wild card out of the deck. You miss the insanity, but your life gets quieter. Michael was structure. He was the guy planning the heist, setting the rules, lecturing Franklin about being smart. Without him, Franklin's criminal life feels way more aimless. Like he's just another hustler with a nice house and no real plan. You'll notice it when you're driving around at night and nobody important calls. No Michael asking for backup. No mentor checking in. Just silence and random NPC chatter, while Franklin, who climbed all the way up, suddenly has nobody above him to answer to or learn from. And when you line that up next to Trevor's ending, and then compare both of them to Deathwish, it starts to feel intentional. Rockstar is pushing you toward one answer. Because when all 3 are alive, the phones ring, the hangouts work, and Los Santos feels full. When you kill one of them, the city stays big, but your world gets small. In the next part, we'll put all 3 endings side by side, and you'll see exactly which one Rockstar clearly wanted you to feel best about. And that's exactly why Deathwish feels so different, right? When you finally say no to killing Michael or Trevor, the whole game kind of exhales. So here's how it goes. Franklin refuses both deals, calls Lester, and instead of cutting someone out, you pull everyone in. You, Michael, Trevor, Lamar, even Lester in the background, all stack up against Merriweather, the Fib, and Devin Weston in one massive last stand. The first thing that happens is the tone flips. Instead of sneaking one guy to a refinery or a power plant to die alone, you're rolling deep, clearing out waves of enemies at the foundry. It feels like a payoff to everything you've done. You're using all 3 characters, swapping constantly, covering each other. It's not just another shootout. It's the game finally letting the crew work as an actual team. And when it's over, all 3 are still standing. No burned bodies, no broken necks, no fake accident on a construction site. After that, what happens is the game quietly rewards you with something the kill endings never give you: acceptance. You start getting unique post-game calls and hangouts where they actually talk about what went down. Trevor has lines where he straight up says he knows Michael betrayed him in North Yankton, he knows about Brad, but he still chooses to ride with him anyway. It's not forgiveness, it's more like, you're a snake, I'm a psycho, but we're in this together. For Trevor, that's huge. Michael, on the other hand, finally shows Franklin some real respect. Instead of treating him like the errand kid, he acknowledges that Franklin stood up to the Fib and Devin when he could have taken the easy way out. You'll hear him say stuff that's basically, "You did good, kid." And it actually feels earned. Franklin isn't just the guy they used to pull the trigger anymore. He's the one who refused to pull it. In this video, I'm going to show you more of those lines later, but even in normal free roam, you can feel the shift. Alright, compare that to the kill endings. Those feel like amputations. You cut Trevor out and the world keeps glitching emotionally. Ron's angry text, Wade stuck in the club, Michael acting weird. You drop Michael and the game goes ice cold. Trevor disowns you, Amanda hates you, Franklin sounds broken. It's a messed up situation, and the story leans bitter and lopsided. Rockstar never pops up a message saying, Deathwish is canon, but look at the evidence. It has the most unique dialogue, the most closure, the most character growth. The phones work, the hangouts work, the city feels alive instead of haunted. It's a real low blow to call the others the bad endings, but you know what it feels like. So if Deathwish is the emotional canon, what does that say about who Franklin really becomes? When you pick it, and when you don't. So here's where it really hits you. Once the credits are gone and the big speeches are over, what actually lives in your save file? What does Los Santos feel like when you just drive, walk, and exist after that choice on the cliff? In this video, I'm going to show you how the city itself kind of judges you without ever saying it out loud. Because in Deathwish, the first thing that happens is nothing dies. And that's exactly why it feels the most alive. You load back in and all three characters are still playable. You can swap from Michael in Vinewood to Franklin in the hills to Trevor in the desert, and it feels like the world is still in motion instead of frozen mid-tragedy. Alright, look at what you can actually do. Properties still work. Trevor's airstrip out in Sandy Shores still has those smuggling runs and random encounters that only really make sense if this chaos gremlin is still breathing. Michael's movie studio stuff at Richard's Majestic is still there, with Solomon, with those little follow-up moments that show him trying to be a producer instead of just a thief. Franklin can still grow his empire without feeling like he stepped on two bodies to get there. On top of that, the hangouts are different. When you call to grab a drink or hit a strip club, new reflective dialogue opens up between them. They talk about what went down, about Devin and Stretch and the fib, and you feel this weird, earned peace. It's not perfect, but it's closure. You know those car rides where they just start talking and you end up driving in circles to hear every line? That's where Deathwish secretly becomes the real ending. Now compare that to ending A Kill Trevor, and the desert just dies. Sandy Shores feels empty. His trailer is locked. His businesses are gone. And all those airstrip missions and side hustles are just ghosts. Wade is still stuck in the strip club like nothing happened. Ron keeps texting you, but the whole area has this abandoned vibe, like a theme park after closing. You drive past the airfield and it's a messed up situation, because you can feel the whole Trevor left more than you actually see it. Ending B flips it. Kill Michael, and Vinewood turns hollow. His house is up for sale. The DeSanta family is scattered. The movie studio content just vanishes. No more producer calls. No more studio drama. Just locked doors and a for sale sign where your safe house used to be. You go up into Rockford Hills, and it feels like you're visiting a crime scene you caused. Here's the pattern interrupt. The map barely changes. Same streets, same traffic, same stores. But what happens after is in the ambience. NPCs call different names. Random encounters shift. Ambient dialogue changes to reflect who's gone. Franklin's comments, Trevor's rants, Michael's musings, or the lack of them, completely changed the tone of Free Roam. So here's how it goes. Rockstar's real long-game storytelling isn't just in that final cutscene. It's in the hours after, when you're just messing around. And in the next part, we'll dig into what that says about Franklin's legacy, and which version of him you're really playing with each ending. Alright, so if the game's real story keeps going after the credits, Deathwish is where you actually see these guys finish their arcs. And the crazy part is, a lot of it is hidden in those random hangouts you probably skipped. You know those grab a drink, shoot some darts calls you ignore? That's where Rockstar quietly pays you back for not killing anybody. So here's how it goes. In option C, when you start taking the trio out together, the tone is totally different from the kill endings. The first thing that happens is you notice they're self-aware. Michael actually talks about almost dying. Trevor jokes about the odds of them all still breathing. Franklin cracks that he should have charged extra. It's not just banter anymore. It's three guys who know they dodged the bullet. Literally and morally. Trevor is the big one. In the kill endings, he never gets closure. He just dies angry. Or cuts Franklin off and stays angry. But in Deathwish, what happens after a few hangouts is he finally starts talking about North Yankton and Brad like a human being, not just screaming about betrayal. He'll bring up how Michael sold him out, how Brad got the grave, how he was supposed to be the one in the dirt, and then he does something you never see in A or B. He lets it go. Not fully, he's still Trevor, but he basically says, yeah, Michael's a snake, yeah, it was a messed up situation, and he's choosing to move forward instead of obsessing forever. That tiny shift is huge. It's Rockstar saying, if you keep all three alive, Trevor finally stops living in 2004. He's still unstable, still wild, but he's not just a broken record about that snowy grave. Michael changes too. In the Trevor or Michael kill paths, he either collapses into guilt or vanishes into awkward silence. In Deathwish, when you call him as Franklin, he actually sounds grateful. On Hangouts, he'll thank Franklin for saving his family, talk about our score, and he stops treating Franklin like the kid he sends to do the dirty work. He'll ask what Franklin wants, not just dump problems on him. It feels like he finally sees Franklin as a real partner, not an errand boy from South Los Santos. And then there's Franklin. Option C is the only timeline where his growth doesn't get undercut. He stood up to Devin, to Steve, to Lester's cold logic, and he refused to sacrifice either friend. After that, when you're cruising around, he'll talk about having both worlds open. The hood, the Vinewood Hills, the businesses, the contacts. He didn't sell his soul for one side. So in this video, I'm going to show you how these lines are like Rockstar secret achievement. You picked the hardest moral option, you dealt with the messy consequences together, and the reward is a version of Los Santos, where all three finally know who they are. And in the next part, we'll push that even further and ask what that means for Franklin's legacy long term. Alright, so if Deathwish is the moral achievement, the next question is simple. Which ending actually respects your save file? Like after the credits, where do you have the most toys, the most missions, the most chaos to mess around with? So here's how it goes. When all three survive, Los Santos is basically in full sandbox mode. You've got Trevor's airstrip workout in Sandy Shores, with those arms-running flights and odd jobs that only make sense with Trevor still being Trevor. You've got Michael's movie studio buyout, his producer lifestyle, his golf and therapy and Vinewood drama. And you've got Franklin holding down the hood, the Vinewood Hills house, and all his assassination investments. 3 different flavors of endgame, all online at the same time. The first thing that happens when you kill someone is you start quietly turning that world off. Take out Trevor, the airfield jobs, his exclusive properties, the random events that lean on his insanity, they're just gone. You can't buy his safe houses, you can't do his weird rampages. Ron basically becomes a ghost, who only exists in angry texts. Kill Michael? The movie studio is still there as a map icon. But the fantasy of washed-up dad turned producer is dead. His house is for sale, his family story just stops mid-sentence, and a bunch of his character-specific encounters never trigger again. And it's not just about losing a house icon. What happens after the main story in GTA 5 is a ton of mission replays, heist experiments, and what if I did it this way instead runs. Those are way better when the full cast is still in your head, even if mechanically you can still hit replay from the menu. When you know Trevor's canonically dead, replaying a heist where he's cracking jokes in the getaway car feels off. when Michael's supposed to be splattered at the bottom of a tower. Watching him argue with Jimmy during a replay is like seeing a ghost. Look at the heist specifically. With everyone alive, you can go back and try different crews, swap approaches, and in your mind it still fits the timeline. You can do a clean, smart big score run, then replay it loud with Trevor losing his mind, and it feels like alternate takes on the same legend. If one of them is canonically gone, it's like watching deleted scenes from a timeline that never happened. For completionists and lore fans, that's a real low blow. Deathwish keeps the maximum number of random events, ambient conversations, and cross-character hangouts alive. Franklin can still smoke cigars with Michael in Rockford Hills, then go do some unhinged nonsense with Trevor in the desert, and the dialogue will keep evolving based on the ending you chose. Option A or B, just cut those branches off. So in this video, I'm going to show you how Rockstar kind of nudges you. The good ending is also the one that gives you the most dialogue, the most properties, the most replay value for your time. But if Deathwish is the best mechanically, what does that say about Franklin as a person, choosing to save everyone and then live with all those ghosts walking around the city? And here's where it gets even weirder. If your save file ends with one of the kill endings, why does Gita Online act like everybody somehow made it out alive? You load into the same city, same timeline more or less, but the world kind of behaves like a secret fourth continuity is running in the background. So here's how it goes. A lot of players notice pretty fast that online keeps dropping hints that only really make sense if you pick Deathwish. You've got Lester talking about some old friends, and that Vinewood guy like Michael still out there doing studio jobs. Solomon Richards shows up in online, and his dialogue treats Michael like this off-screen fixer who helped him get his life back together. That doesn't work if Michael splatted on the side of a factory because Franklin pushed him. The first thing that happens when you start digging into this is you realize Trevor's ghost is basically everywhere too. In several online contact missions, Ron is still freaking out about T and running weapons like nothing ever happened. There are references to Trevor Phillips Industries as an active thing, not some dead guy's company. Even Lamar's tone when he talks about certain past jobs feels like Trevor's chaos is common knowledge. If you burn Trevor in the main game, all that dialogue suddenly sounds like it's from a different universe. Pattern interrupt for you. What if I told you Michael literally shows up in Gita Online's files? Data miners found leftover references to a movie set, contact, and cut co-op missions where you would help a Vinewood director who is obviously Michael under a fake name. It's a messed up situation, because that would have been the cleanest way for Rockstar to say, yeah, Deathwish is canon, and they just never shipped it. Look, it doesn't stop there. There are also strings hinting that Franklin was meant to be more involved with the agency and high-end property stuff long before the contract DLC made it official. Early online dialogue about a young hustler moving up in the hills lines up almost perfectly with Franklin's arc if he survives. When the contract finally drops, it hard confirms Franklin is running a successful business in Los Santos. And everyone talks about the old days like Michael and Trevor were both part of that shared past. Alright, Rockstar never comes out and stamps a big canon label on ending C. But the weight of it all is real. The structure of online. The way missions reference a 3-man heist crew. The way nobody ever mourns Michael or Trevor by name. It's kind of like the game is quietly assuming nobody died on that cliff or in that oil field. So what happens after the credits isn't just your save file. The complete history of Michael, Franklin, and Trevor keeps echoing through how people play Los Santos, which endings they talk about, and which version Rockstar keeps feeding content to. And in the next part, we'll push that even further and look at what that might be setting up for whatever comes after GTAV and online. Alright, so up to now we've talked a lot about what happens after each ending in terms of mechanics and dialogue. But there's this other layer that kind of sneaks up on you. When you actually choose A or B, how many of you felt a little dirty about it later, even if in the moment it felt like the smart move? So here's how it goes. The game frames killing Trevor as the sensible business decision. Steve and Dave basically sell it like pest control. Trevor's a liability. He's wild. He knows too much. Just take him out and clean the slate. Killing Michael is pitched more like clean up your mentor. Devin Weston plays that angle hard. Michael dragged you into this mess. He's old. He's soft. Cut him loose and prove you're not his lapdog. On paper, both sound like solutions. In practice, it's a messed up situation. Because when you zoom out and think about the history we've just walked through, both options feel way more like betrayals than fixes. Trevor is the guy who multiple times storms in and saves you and Michael when everything is going sideways. He pulls Michael out of that fib torture mess. He shows up at the foundry in Deathwish like a one-man army. Michael, on the other hand, is the one who takes Franklin from Repo Man to full-on heist crew. He's the first person to really treat Franklin like he can be more than muscle. And Franklin himself? This is the same dude who risks everything to save Lamar from Stretch, from the Ballas, from a setup that had nothing to do with Michael or Trevor. That's loyalty. So it's a real low blow that the kill endings twist those exact bonds into reasons to pull the trigger. You know too much about Trevor, so he has to go. You've outgrown Michael, so he's dead weight. The story quietly turns friendship, mentorship, and rescue into ammo for murder. Now look, some people pick those darker endings on purpose. Maybe you wanted to roleplay a cold, ruthless Franklin. Maybe you were just curious, like, in this video I'm going to show you what happens after you kill Michael, right? The game totally allows that. It doesn't pop up a big wrong choice screen, but it does make you sit with it. Michael's family cutting you off. Trevor's house locked forever. Franklin leaving that shaken voicemail. Ron's angry texts. It all lingers. So knowing everything you know now, with all the consequences laid out, would you still make the same call? Or does Deathwish suddenly feel like the only ending that actually respects all three stories and all the history between them? Keep that question in mind, because next we're going to push even harder on what that everybody lives choice really says about who Michael, Franklin, and Trevor become by the end of GTA V. So here's how it goes. From that snowy road in North Yankton all the way to that final choice on the cliff, in one line you can actually feel. Michael sells out the crew, fakes his death, takes his cut and disappears into witness protection, and that single lie traps him in this weird suburban prison where he's alive but miserable. While Trevor is left in the dirt with Brad's blood on his hands, thinking his best friend died a hero instead of walking away a snitch. The first thing that happens after that is the universe kind of resets around that lie. Michael's in Rockford Hills, yelling at his kids by the pool. Trevor's out in Sandy Shores, building this meth-fueled empire on pure rage and loyalty. And Franklin? He starts at the bottom, doing repo work, getting played by Simeon, just trying to climb out of the hood until he literally crashes Michael's life with that yacht mission and becomes the bridge between these two broken timelines. From there, every mission is them rewriting what North Yankton did to them without even saying it out loud. Every argument in the car, every joke about retirement or loyalty, every time Trevor snaps at Michael for being soft, or Michael tells Franklin he's the son he never had. It's all echoing that original betrayal. You know when Trevor drags you back to North Yankton and forces the truth out of the grave? That's not just a twist. It's the moment the past finally catches up and refuses to stay buried. And that's why the three endings hit so hard. In ending A, when you kill Trevor, you're basically choosing to protect the liar and burn the one guy who, for all his chaos, never stopped being loyal. It's a messed up situation, because the game lets Michael walk away again while Trevor literally burns for a lie he didn't start. In ending B, you flip it. You kill the mentor who dragged you up from repo jobs just to keep the corrupt Fib and Devin happy. It's a real low blow, because Franklin becomes the new Michael, selling out the person who believed in him. Then there's Deathwish. Option C is you finally saying no to that whole pattern. In this video, I'm going to show you how that choice isn't just everybody lives. It's you, as Franklin, refusing to repeat North Yankton. You don't kill the liar or the lunatic, you stand with both and take on the city instead. Look, when you replay the game knowing all this, suddenly the foreshadowing is everywhere. Little lines from Lester, Dave's nervous energy, Trevor's obsession with Brad, Michael's panic attacks, Franklin's hunger for more. It all feels like it's pointing straight at that final decision you're going to make. You start to realize Rockstar was setting you up the whole time. And here's the wild part. Your ending is now the last chapter in their shared history. You're not just watching their story. You're the one who decides if the cycle of betrayal keeps going or finally breaks. So if North Yankton was the first sentence and the cliff is the comma, what does your final choice actually say about who these three really are when the dust settles? So now I want to throw that question right back at you. When you hit that final choice for the first time, what did you actually do? Did you scroll down, see Deathwish, and think, yeah, obviously? Or did you go, you know what, I'm going to be cold and pick one of the guys? Be honest in the comments. Which ending did you pick first? And did you ever go back after and replay the others once you realized what happens after? Like, did you only find out way later that killing Trevor locks you out of his house and his properties? Or that killing Michael basically turns his whole family against Franklin? And then go, alright, I need to see that train wreck myself? So here's how it goes for Franklin's side of things. And I want you to tell me which version feels the most like you. Are you the ruthless closer? The player who chose to kill Trevor because you saw him as a liability? A ticking time bomb that had to go? Are you the conflicted hitman? The one who pushed Michael off that tower or let him fall? Feeling sick about it, but still doing the job? Or are you the ride or die friend, the Deathwish Franklin, who says, I'm not choosing, we're burning the whole list instead? Drop it in the comments like this, Franklin type, Trevor killer, Michael killer, or Deathwish. And then tell me why. Was it roleplay, like you thought Franklin would listen to Steve Haynes? Was it personal, because you saw a lot of yourself in Michael's midlife crisis or Trevor's chaos? Or did you just want to see the most brutal cutscene first, because it's a messed up situation, and you were curious? And speaking of Michael and Trevor, how do you actually read these guys? Do you see Michael as a tragic family man who's trying his best and keeps failing? Or a selfish rat who sold out his best friend in North Yankton and never really owned it? Is Trevor, in your version of Los Santos, a complete monster who needed to go? Or the only truly loyal friend who never lied about who he was? Here's a little pattern interrupt for you. Instead of just saying which ending you chose, tell me one tiny detail from your playthrough that stuck with you. Maybe it was Ron's furious text after Trevor's death, or Amanda's message blaming Franklin when Michael dies, or a random line during Deathwish where all three finally sound like they accept each other. Those small lines are the real history of these three. Alright, if you've watched this full breakdown of their story from North Yankton to every possible finale, thank you. In this video, I'm going to show you how this is just one timeline in Rockstar's universe. And next up, we can dive into other GTA endings and characters, like what really happens to Lamar, or how GTA Online quietly rewrites this whole history. Let's get started on that in the next deep dive. So now that you've seen how this whole timeline plays out, let me ask you something. Did you actually know the game went this deep when you killed Michael or Trevor? Or did some of this catch you off guard? Because in this video I'm going to show you, we didn't use any mods. No headcanon, no myths, none of that. It was just what happens after you make those choices. Exactly how Rockstar coded it. From Trevor's house getting locked forever, to Michael never picking up Franklin's calls again, to Amanda blocking Franklin out of her life if you push Michael off that tower. It's all in the base game. It's a messed up situation, and the fact that the world keeps reacting long after the credits is what makes it feel so real. So if at any point you went, wait, I never noticed that line, or you learned something new about ending A or ending B, do me a favor and hit like. That's the first thing that happens that actually helps a lot more than you think. It tells YouTube you care about these long breakdowns, and it lets me know you want more deep dives into the small details Rockstar hid everywhere. If you've ever replayed the final mission and still missed half this stuff, that like button is kind of like your second chance. And look, if you're still here with me in Los Santos, you probably like this commentary style where we slow down the chaos and really pull the story apart. So here's how it goes. If you want more long-form, story-focused GTA content, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. That way when we dig into other characters, other endings, or even GTA online connections, you don't have to wonder, what did I miss this time? You'll just see it pop up and you can jump straight back in. If you're wondering what to watch next, don't just click off to some random clip. Go straight into the North Yankton deep dive I've got lined up. In that one, we go back to the prologue and break down every tiny thing about the Brad deal, how Michael ended up in witness protection, and why Trevor's obsession with that snowy graveyard makes so much more sense. Or, if you're more into character dynamics, check out the Lamar and Franklin breakdown, where we follow their friendship from forum drive jokes to the way Lamar reacts depending on who you choose to kill. Alright, I'm gonna wrap this one up here. Hit like if you learned something, subscribe if you want more real GTA stories with no myths, and pick one of those videos on screen so we can keep this timeline going. I'll see you back in Los Santos. So before we click off and load up something else, I want you to picture one last scene. No menus, no mission markers, no chaos on the minimap, just Michael, Franklin, and Trevor standing shoulder to shoulder on a cliff above Los Santos, like all three of them somehow made it out. The city's laid out under them, alright, like a crime documentary and a dream at the same time. Vinewood sign in the distance. Freeways looping around like veins. The Fib building, the pier, the neighborhoods where you probably caused way too much trouble. You can almost hear the traffic and the sirens if you've played enough. In your save file, that might not be real. Maybe Trevor's gone, burned in the oil field. Maybe Michael's the one who fell off that tower. Maybe you picked Deathwish and kept them all alive. But in this shot, none of that matters. They're just there. 3 men who went through North Yankton, the Union Depository, the betrayals, the arguments, and somehow ended up on the same hillside. Remember how we started? Asking what you regret? What happens after you choose A, B, or C, and the game quietly locks doors, cuts friendships, and leaves people like Jimmy or Ron hanging? That question's still there, but now it hits a little different. Because once you've seen what really breaks when you kill Michael or Trevor, you can't pretend it was just another checkbox on a mission screen. Look at each of them in that final frame. Michael's the guy who tried to rewrite his past with witness protection and therapy. But the first thing that happens when you remove him is a family that never really heals. Trevor's the chaos you think you can just delete. But it's a messed up situation when you realize how many conversations, memories, and bits of dark honesty vanish with him. Franklin's the one who pulls the trigger on the ending, and depending on your choice, he either saves everybody or walks away with blood on his hands and fewer people to call. So here's how it goes. GTA V isn't just about the heists you pull off. It's about loyalty and betrayal. who you stand by when the city pushes back, and whether guys like this can ever really escape who they are. Deathwish feels like growth. Killing Michael or Trevor feels like a real low blow the game never lets you forget. And now, every time you boot it up, you're not just messing around in a sandbox. You're stepping back into a story you helped write. That cliff, that choice, that version of Los Santos, that's yours. We fade out on the city lights, little pixels of possibility under the night sky, and the three of them turn away, walking off into whatever ending you gave them. The story's done for now, but the world is still sitting there on the start screen, waiting to see what you'll do next. If you want more breakdowns like this, in this video I'm going to show you on screen right now why your next choice in Los Santos might hit even harder. Let's get started on that one.